Welcome back to the channel, and here are my thoughts immediately following the full-time whistle, which has just blown in Auckland when New Zealand have played Argentina in round 2 of the Rugby Championship. Could Argentina back up a famous victory in Wellington last weekend? Could New Zealand bounce back under Scott Robertson? I cannot believe, actually, New Zealand did not score in the final 38 minutes of that game. Absolute outrage. On the flip side, they scored 42 points in 42 minutes to comfortably win, to end the contest pretty early. And basically, I think the only person who seemed to want the game to keep going at the end was Angus Gardner, who found a reason to extend it even further, which was quite funny because the New Zealand commentary team had got their 50 not out for New Zealand at Eden Park, and used that line that he'd clearly crafted all week and then wasted it because the game wasn't over. The contest was over though, and it was a dominant New Zealand performance. As I say, I'm going to give you my thoughts. I want to know yours in the comments down below. And if you appreciate the content on the channel, then I would love it if I would earn your subscription on this video. I'm Tim and this is Egg Chasers. And I think I'll go into the how the game shook down, but I'm just going to give some big picture thoughts on this one. I mean, it was the most predictable outcome to happen, wasn't it? There were some fundamentals that New Zealand didn't take care of last week that were really good this week. They were never going to be that poor 2 weeks in a row. And Argentina's going to Argentina. It was the most predictable thing that they were not going to be able to back up one big performance and get themselves into that headspace again. And they were really disappointing. Yeah, they rallied back in the second half and never gave up. I suppose Argentina have learnt a lesson. Never ever don't pick Augustin Crevi. You don't pick Gus Crevi, you're not going to win international rugby games. Done. Simple as that. He needs to keep on playing. So, yeah, there we go. As for big picture things, I mean, lots of fundamentals, like I say, from New Zealand were taken care of. Scrum being one of them. It's going to be funny to hear what John Kerwin and Jeff Wilson have to say about this game. Because... right, well, this is John Kerwin like 9 months ago. Too many scrams. Too many scrams. This was John Kerwin last weekend. Where were the scrams? The game was ruined because we didn't have scrams for 60 minutes. Sorry, I apologise for the accent. I'm sorry. And then this is going to be John Kerwin on Monday. We need more scrams. We need more scrams. So I can only apologise for the horrific accent, but you get the picture. Mighty Williams made a massive difference. He should just be called the Mighty Williams in my book. Sordoni, I did have worries. In fact, there's a WhatsApp messages that I was exchanging before the game with someone else, a friend of mine who's watched a fair bit of Glasgow Warriors this year, and we were worried about Sordoni. When he comes on for Xander Fagerson for Glasgow, the scrum goes on roller skates all of a sudden, and it was not good. And the Mighty Williams, the giant rugby playing baby, absolutely put him to the sword. Other positives for New Zealand, guys like Ethan Blackadder, who copped a lot of criticism. He was really good, very, very solid, and reacted in the right way. TJ Perenara came under fire with a lot of stick, put in a great performance. D-Mac, it was a bit of a masterclass, and New Zealand didn't score after he went off. The game got quite bitty in the second half, and Ardie Savia just did Ardie Savia things. Tupu Vai, he impressed me, and New Zealand needed a bit of dog and needed a bit of edge, and yeah, guys like Blackadder, like Williams, like Vai, brought a little bit of edge. And actually, Tupu Vai, what I quite liked about him, I sort of think Saracens, if the Saracens coaches were watching that game, they'll be like, we need to sign Tupu Vai, because he celebrates knock-ons like Ben Earl and Maro Itoje do. So I appreciated that. And I would say New Zealand put in a dominant performance. They can still improve. They can still improve. Their exits from kickoffs were not good. And that's one easy way that they can improve even further. The skill set from the All Blacks in terrible conditions is amazing. It's a bit of a cliche and something that gets said that, you know, kids in New Zealand grow up playing rugby with a wet ball. But it's true. And they were masterful at their execution and accuracy in horrendous conditions. And it is really impressive. And I am going to be out in South Africa in 2 weeks' time watching the Springboks against the All Blacks in those back-to-back games in Johannesburg and in Cape Town. And on the strength of that performance from the All Blacks, I cannot wait, because it has set up 2 titanic matches. And if you want to make sure you follow the content on the channel from South Africa, wherever your allegiances lie, then, as I say, another reason to hit subscribe on the channel. Sorry, I'm just going to apologise again. I'm so sorry for that New Zealand accent. I've let my family down. I've let my friends down. I've let you down. But most of all, I've let myself down. So it was a windswept, horrible Auckland evening. Very much like a British summer's day, I might add. And the anthem. See, I knew this was going to be a New Zealand win. When I saw the anthem, I said it last week. If Argentina cry during their national anthem, they've got a good chance of winning. If there's no tears, they're not going to win. There was no Gus Crevy, and I didn't see any tears during the Argentina national anthem. So I knew they weren't in the right emotional headspace to go out and end some Kiwis and win the game. There was a moment where Matera smiled just before the haka, where I thought, oh, actually, Matera, that smile, kind of reminiscent of Owen Farrell World Cup 2019. Maybe they're going to be in business. And Kremer with a big grin on his face, and like whacking his own head just before kickoff. I thought, oh, maybe that was good. But the Capo Opango haka was awesome. It had a bit of spice and edge to it. And it was at that point I went, yeah, the Eden Park curse is not going to be lifted today. And it is going to be 50 not out. And so it proved. Ardi Savia setting the tone with the first tackle of the game, which was a massive hit, then bouncing off both Carreras's, Santi and Matteo, on the other side of the ball to set things going, set the tone. Penalty, went to the corner. Initially, Cody Taylor undercooked his throw, going to the back, but eventually the try came from D-Mac. A little nudge through from Geordie Barrett, very intelligent with the quick Argentinian press. And they were away to a flying start, 7-0, which got even worse when they scored another try. It was Savia in the corner soon afterwards, again from another penalty and a maul. And Argentina, their discipline and their accuracy was absolutely awful. They just conceded a try, the first try, and then Gajo, when Argentina had New Zealand on their own 5-metre line, gave away the softest offside penalty just to relieve the pressure. And then there was that 5-second timeout on a maul in their own 22 moments later, where Bertranou just didn't get rid of the ball. It was kind of unforgivable. Interesting though, with that law change and the 5-second being activated much quicker by referees, we're getting less box kicks. Have you noticed? Because I think the scrum halves cannot mess about with the ball at the back of the ruck as much, so they're just getting it out, and it's going back in the pocket to players like Geordie Barrett and Santi Carreras to kick a little bit more. So that is an improvement from the law changes. I don't like so many law changes, but it was really good. And that scrum, early, I mean, that just set the tone as well, didn't it? The mighty Williams, just absolutely, well, he had, as I said, Sordoni on roller skates for Argentina. Caleb Clark scored a try. And when I think of New Zealand number 11 scoring tries, I think of simple hands and basically the New Zealand number 11 scoring a try that I could score. And Caleb Clark had one of them. He just had to stroll in after some really good play. And it was 21-3 after 20 minutes. And Argentina were terrible. They were terrible. The flip side of that is New Zealand were very, very good. And like I say, their accuracy in awful conditions was brilliant. Will Jordan with a try. Lovely break up the blind side. TJ Perinara tied up 2 players. Offload to Will Jordan, who just had to stroll in. A lot of people calling for Will Jordan to be fullback. He did have a bit of time at fullback later in the game, didn't he? I don't know what it is. I don't understand the calls for fullback, because whenever I see him, and admittedly I don't watch him play every week in Super Rugby, and I just watch him when he plays the big games for New Zealand for the most part. And every time he's on the wing, he just looks dynamite. He played at fullback, and I'm not sure his kicking game's quite good enough for fullback. So anyway, I like him on the wing. It was 28-3, touchline conversion from D-Mac, who was just given a masterclass of a performance for the first half. Clearly took the criticism to heart and reacted in the perfect way. And it was D-Mac himself that sent Beauden Barrett through a hole. Defence was poor from Argentina, but attack was very good. And those are the two sides of the coin. You can't say it was just Argentina being bad. You cannot say it was just New Zealand being good. The two played into an absolutely mismatched first half. which ended 35 points to 3. And the second half, well, the game was won. It always happens, doesn't it? When there's an absolute beatdown in the first half, it always tightens up in the second, because just psychologically you can take your foot off the gas, you can make changes. I don't know. Yeah, this is what I find quite interesting, though, is to sort of go, what assessments do you make about both of these teams based on that game? Because it would be very easy to go, oh yeah, New Zealand under Scott Robertson are amazing. They're going to be so good. Yeah, they were poor last week. They were really good this week. And this last week felt like the outlier, didn't it? Because they were good against England. They're very good today, and last week was the outlier. And it's easy just to blame that on always Wellington. They don't play well in Wellington. Well, you need to be able to go to wherever and deliver, and you shouldn't have to be playing in front of a place where you've won 49 or been unbeaten for 49 games straight beforehand to go and win. So, but last week did feel like the outlier. Now we look at it from both sides. It felt like the outlier from Argentina's perspective as well, because I was so disappointed with how they played. Just brain dead decisions, poor execution, terrible in wet conditions, and tactically just outclassed. And tactically, as much as anything, the attitude was there, but the tactics. And Geordie Barrett had a really good game. And maybe that Barrett-Ioane partnership kind of works. It just felt like everyone felt more comfortable with that. But I actually think it was the physical battle was won by the forwards a lot more. So TJ Perenara had a good platform. Even in bad conditions, D-Mac was getting the ball on his terms and able to do what he does. And everyone just felt like they were on the same hive mind. That second half was really messy. Argentina got that one try, didn't they, in the end, after a bit of sustained pressure. And fair play to them, they didn't give up. But there was also that, it was Juan Cruz Malia scored the try, wasn't it? Yellow card for Asafo Armua. I do find it interesting, the difference between, particularly New Zealand and Australia, and what feels like the rest of the world in regards to the head contact. Jeff Wilson just could not understand why that could even be a yellow card or a penalty. I mean, all I want is consistency. I would actually go with Jeff Wilson on that's how I want rugby to be played. I don't want that Asafo Armua yellow card on Mateo Carreras. I could go, if we decided, you know what, that's not going to be a yellow card. That might be penalty only at most. I would be okay with that. Some people might not like me for saying it. I'd be okay with that. But for Jeff Wilson, does he watch any rugby outside of New Zealand? Because if he watches any rugby, he was in France at the Rugby World Cup. I just cannot process how he can look at that, unless he's looking at it completely biased from a New Zealand perspective. How can he look at that and think anything other than, under the current rules, that is at least a yellow card? It blows my mind. But consistency is all we want. And there. Anyway, I've said my piece. It was quite funny, though, when, again, I wondered if this was a line that had been prepared for Thomas Lavanini when he started kicking off at New Zealand in those closing stages. Lavanini, quote, "More cards than a fortune teller," that guy. That was probably the highlight of the second half, to be honest, wasn't it? That and a bit of shithousery from Tupou Vai, who, like I say, one of the players that really did impress me. That has, like I say, I think fundamentally it has properly set up South Africa in 2 weeks' time. Johannesburg, Ellis Park, venue of that 1995 Rugby World Cup final, a venue where New Zealand have actually done very well over the years. There's a lot of history, a lot of edge, the two greatest rivals in world rugby, and that game today at Eden Park has just set it up beautifully. Mwah! Chef's kiss of a performance for New Zealand. Very impressed with the All Blacks and Scott Robertson's team. And maybe in the changing room right now, Scott Robertson is busting out some moves like Raygun, the Aussie breakdancer. We will have to wait and see about that one. In the meantime, I'm going to go and watch, what's the time now? Oh yeah, South Africa, Australia v South Africa, about to kick off in Perth Fontaine. So I'm going to go get busy watching that. Thank you for watching the channel. Hit subscribe, leave your comments. See you on the next one.